Good thing
Okay.
we're-
All right, are we all ready?
Get
Okay.
started, yes.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:00, I have 6:07 on my watch. Thank you all for coming this evening, I appreciate that. We have some control people here, but anyways, we are being recorded this evening and we are being broadcast live.
No.
No,
Not
we're not being broadcast live? Oh, good, okay. We're being taped for rebroadcast. So anyways, we don't have anyone in the audience, so we don't have to worry about anybody else recording us. Anyways, the first item on the agenda is relative to the master plan, the open space plan updates, and I understand that there are some responses from the state.
Yes, yes there are. Through the chair, we sent our open space plan, our revised open space plan the following day after our last meeting, which was Monday, April 11th, I believe. Sent it in the following day, we got feedback a week later. I believe we had, yes, I believe we had 15 original comments that we had to modify, somewhere maybe a dozen. I'll just read the opening sentence, I guess. Thank you for submitting Auburn's OSRP for review. This is from Melissa Cryan, the state, Grant Program Supervisor for the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. So you've made a lot of progress on the plan, however, there are two outstanding items that must be addressed before the plan can receive final approval. She gave us instructions on how to follow those, and one of them was anticipated, the other one was a surprise, and some of the other things that we were anticipating ended up getting approved, so we're happy there.
So what are the two things that are missing or need to be addressed?
The two things that were missing was environmental challenges. Apparently we didn't properly adequately address the environmental equity issue. I'll just read it right off the board. Environmental equity refers to looking at the distribution of open space and recreation resources in your community and identifying areas that are lacking them. So Eric and I accomplished that today. We added a section on page 63 of our plan, talks about the environmental equity. What we did is we took the town, split it into quadrants, and because it looked like the northeast part of town had all the recreational resources, so we listed that. The reason why we thought it was like that is because it's the most dense residential area.
Packagug Hill area, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and near Julie Bancroft, that area too. So mostly the Packagug Hill area, that's where all of our recreational resources are. A lot of town-owned land is South All Road, the golf course, etc. So we listed that as the greatest concentration of town-owned open land, and also having the highest residential density. And those two things, it's not a mistake. You do that for a reason. So then we focused on the two southern quadrants. The southeastern, southwestern quadrant is considered everything south of Route 20, I suppose. South Street, Prospect Hill,
Yep.
both those areas. Exactly.
Yeah.
Saying how those are, aside from the commercialization of Route 20, the residential C and residential rural districts make up most of that area. Larger tracts of land, less residential density. But there's a high volume of natural open space, including the core habitat area surrounding Eddy Pond, which is one of those areas you can't really do anything with. But you mentioned that the lack of established recreational resources aside from the boat ramp. So what they want us to do is we can group it and then talk about where it's lacking things. And then the last one we did was what we refer to as North Auburn, but the northwestern part of the town. That's Rushdale Street, Dead Horse Hill, Crowell Hill. Yes, and those being the sparsest residential area in town. The abundance of open space, mostly forested and privately owned. Those recreational resources are absent from the area because of the steep terrain of Dead Horse and Crowell Hills, combined with the lack of road frontage and accessibility of town parcels. So our instruction was to identify the areas, the distribution, so we cut it into fourths, I guess, and then identify areas that are lacking them, so I believe we've covered that. The second item was expected. It's that massive table we were working on, and there were a handful of little things they would like us to adjust.
Such as?
One of the columns was condition, and they were looking for a certain grade, as in excellent, good, fair, or poor. We just put physical condition of the property, if it was wetland, or if it was this, or if it was that. So they wanted us to list it better that way. And type of grant, if any, that are used to purchase or renovate the property. We are aware of only a couple of properties, and we listed none for most of the rest of them, but some of them we didn't list anything. So they wanted to be completely filled in. It's a small thing. And then the other thing, which might take a little time, we were nervous about this going in, was property that has conservation restrictions and agricultural preservation restrictions must be listed in that section too. It's not something we have on hand that we can get to.
No, the agricultural restrictions, is that the 61A land?
Yeah, and we've cataloged that. It's
This is referring to town-owned properties.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, not privately owned,
right,
town-owned,
town-owned.
that might have a conservation or an agricultural.
right. Could have had one back when it was purchased, and might still have it as part of the deed, which we wouldn't know without going into them one at a time. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
gonna.
so even if it was like 75 years ago, if it had a deed restriction then?
Yes. Yes. So that information wasn't readily available to us right away, so we're gonna have some
We'll have to do some digging
research to do. But those are the items, aside from all the other stuff that we did.
Wow.
Overall, not too upset about it. It would be great if it was approved, don't get me wrong, but
you
there were
gotta,
only...
but look at the positive side of
Yeah.
it. Look at how much of it was approved.
Exactly.
And you're down to 2 things, and you've already got
That's
one
right.
thing taken care of.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So it's half full as opposed to half empty,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So that's great.
Did they
Yes.
give you a deadline for this, or
No.
is it, no, it's just whenever you get it
Yep.
accomplished?
She said that when she receives the following items, these 2 things we just discussed, she'll send out the final approval letter. So, assuming she's satisfied with what we sent in next, which I
Yeah.
don't think should be an issue.
So that sounds very positive.
Yep.
That's great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll have the next section done before the next meeting. It's a lot of information, we'll try to get it in.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, you guys have been working on this now for such a period of time that it's fresh in your mind, and
Right.
I'm sure that, you know, rather than putting it aside, I mean, I would think you'd want to get it done,
Yeah.
you know, while it's fresh in your minds.
Assuming someone has done the research on all the deeds in the past, and we do have this information at town hall. If not, we have to hunt them in the registry one at a time.
So every single
It could
town
be time
parcel?
consuming, yeah.
Yes, it's about 170.
The open land.
There's a few. But if
Is it
someone's done
good?
this already,
Well,
maybe it's
something-
cataloged in the assessor's office.
Something I was considering is that there are just a handful that
On the tax card, read Conservation Commission, so
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Right,
those would be
that's true.
sufficient to research.
Some of them are under a board of selectmen, some of them are under different control, so we have to check those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna find an awful lot.
Hopefully not.
Um,
And speaking with other town department heads, they're not aware of too many other than the golf course. I think it was a restriction on it in 1981 or so, or at least how it was purchased.
Yeah, there were, you know, you might want to read that over because
Exactly.
there are conflicting opinions on what the restrictions were on that parcel when it was bought. But, you know, too, there's some other, you know, where the, actually those have come off, where the police station is now, that property was purchased with federal money.
The Lumansky Park?
Well, where the police station itself is right now.
Oh, okay.
When that was all bought, it was bought with something from the Department of the Interior, some kind of federal grants.
Okay.
And they had to, when they decided to build a police station there, they had to,
You do like a land swap or something?
yeah, they did, because it was a condition on that property when it was bought that it had to be for recreational use.
Oh.
So they had to get some kind of a, and I can't remember which parcel it was that they gave up in exchange for release on that parcel for it to be used for the police station. I can't remember.
Oh, we'll certainly look into it.
Yeah, I do recall looking into the property where we are looking to establish those walking trails. the deed on that, it was a gift to the town, I believe.
Cutting brook.
Yeah. And the
Yeah, I
deed
think
did
that's
have some
a restriction,
specifications
yeah.
about it being used for recreational purposes.
How is that grant coming?
We're currently, the town engineer is working on the trail design. We've had it surveyed, wetlands delineated, we just need the design on a plan so we can send it to Conservation Commission. So they're putting that together. Once I get that, I can do some other things, like talk to folks about having signs built, et cetera. So, other than that, we're kind of at a standstill until we get that draft plan so we know where everything's gonna be.
Okay. So that sounds great. So now we're talking about the implementation of this. What are your,
I put this on here as a talking point just because it was on our last well, we talked about it at the last meeting, it was in the minutes.
yeah,
Talking about how to implement the different sections based on the recommendations of the plan and what the committee wants to prioritize. It's more of a, it's on here for open discussion with the members, having the plan and knowing what's in it to just decide where you want to focus next after this task with the plan revisions and the review of all the open space inventory is complete.
you know, I was thinking about that a little bit yesterday when I was working on the minutes, and I know the master plan committee is also working on that element in the master plan, the open space committee, and I'm wondering, I was kind of thinking, like, I don't know if we should confer with them about priorities of the goals, because we don't want to be in conflict. I mean, you know, our opinions might differ from theirs, or, you know,
Yeah, actually, the master plan is the open space. I mean, a lot of the information in the
Right.
former master plan. is
right, I know,
engineering.
but there's different people working on that than, other than us.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we should have a, maybe we should have a conference with them or something.
what I've recommended to them, since they've all taken different sections to work on and such,
Yep,
we haven't touched on that one yet because I was waiting for this 2014
Okay.
revised plan to be
Okay.
approved,
yep.
and then I was going to recommend its recommendations to them for consideration.
All right, so no one person on the master plan committee is focusing on
That's
this?
right.
Okay.
So, if I'm hearing you, Matt, your recommendation is going to be to suggest that they look at our goals from this
Right.
and incorporate it into the master plan?
Yes.
But the master plan update that they're doing is as of now.
Hmm.
This is 2 years old already.
That's right.
So I think you told me, unless I misunderstood you,
Mhm.
that the master plan will reflect current conditions.
Right.
So this may be the foundation, but it'll need some elaboration.
That's correct.
Okay,
South Hill Road, etc.
right, right. Because we didn't, right. So if you're going to recommend to them that they use this as the foundation, how or who is going to fill in the gap between that and what's really there today?
I think once they get to this chapter, I think it's chapter 9, I could be wrong, it's going to be addressed during a vision workshop, SHRED, public input, etc., so that you get that input from the community department heads. This committee is affected by it before they decide to make any changes.
Well, when you say visioning, are you talking about a public meeting?
Yep.
Not just open to committees and
That's right.
department heads, open to the general public?
Yes, what we've been doing is getting committee, town department feedback before we go open it to the public, so we have everyone's considerations in advance.
And you guys are doing this all by yourselves, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
I had a conversation with a committee member at town meeting, actually. And I told her, I said, that's very different than the way we approached it, you know, a few years ago. Because we had a visioning, we started out with the Visioning 2020, but that money came from CMRPC.
Exactly.
And then we had a budget, plus we also had the 24 hours of CMRPC time
Right,
from the planning board
right.
that we used. So we didn't actually physically write a section.
Right.
You know, we had the input, we went over everything, we made
Mhm.
suggestions, we kicked it around,
Mhm.
but the actual writing was done by the consultants.
That's right. So what our task is instead isn't the overhaul you guys did in 2006. We're updating. We're just revising. We're not trying to change the entire thing. We're just trying to update it. So it's not as comprehensive as the first review.
So we'll have goals from this, plus probably some more goals, I would think,
Mhm.
from what you update between 2014 and now.
Yep. And we've eliminated the ones that have been accomplished, moved some other ones forward.
Right.
Sure, we're going to add some more stuff.
Right, because there are some things in here that are gone, done.
Yes,
So,
a couple.
The town has acquired the golf course.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll take quite a rewrite, because look at how it's changed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in the last 6 months, the improvements that have been made, you know?
That's right.
So that'll be a fun part to write, really.
It is.
It's happy news. So, all right, so what do you guys think about the goals, the implementation of the prioritization of the goals? Do you think we should work with what we've got so far and then maybe hand them off to the master plan committee for input or for their thoughts when they get to that part?
Do you think it'd be good to have someone from the master plan come in to this meeting? Like the chairman or something?
Do the chair. I'm actually a member on the
I know.
committee, so it's
I know, it's so unusual to have the planner
Yeah.
be a member of the committee.
right.
So we have direct communication here. Eric, are you involved in that too? The master plan? No. So I think, you know, we do have the benefit of direct communication here
Okay.
already.
Now, why isn't Central Mass Regional Planning Commission working on this?
Yes, because there's no money.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the Board of Selectmen did not vote to authorize funds for us to pursue their services or any technical assistance for it. Yeah,
Okay.
hopefully, maybe in the future.
Now, I was watching the selectmen's meeting a couple weeks ago, and I heard the discussion about the grant from the community compact thing for $25,000 for the economic development piece.
Yep,
And I know that there's an application going in for $25,000 for the housing
that's right.
piece.
Yes,
So that could have a huge impact.
it is.
I mean, 50 grand is more than we spent on the other one.
Right. So fortunately, through the community compact, we're getting both those. It's technical assistance for both. They get funds towards a consultant to help with those,
Right.
but they're focusing on individual sections. In addition to that, there's the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative Grant, which is $10,000 of technical assistance to work on the Drury Square Village Overlay. And that's Chapter 2 of the Master Plan, the land use section, and those are their number one goals. So we're getting some assistance there too. So despite our original Board of Selectmen voting not to authorize, but we've been able to secure it through grants.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
this- That's for portions of it anyway.
So the current master plan committee favors the village district?
It's been discussed. I can't speak for all the members or anything. I haven't taken a vote on it, but it is in the plan. It is something that wasn't crossed off because it hasn't been accomplished. So I have been keeping them up to speed about the Downtown Initiative Grant and what the intentions are.
Great. Glad to hear that. So it sounds like you're thinking we should just, pardon me, that we should just unilaterally prioritize the goals that we have so far in 2014's plan and then elaborate. I mean, I'm just asking for your suggestion.
Yes, what I could do is I could just separate them out of the document for a future meeting
Yeah.
and just give everyone a handout on the goals and just go down the line and
Do any of you
Do it
guys
that
have
way.
any thoughts about the process or what you think we should do? I mean, I don't want this just to be what I think we should do. I want to know what you guys.
I think we need to look at the implementation aspect, because we really haven't done that yet. I mean, we've talked about what we want to accomplish or what could be accomplished by the community. So this could be an opportunity to do what we want to do, and hopefully it translates into the master plan, or it translates in there with some modification. But I think that's a good starting point for us.
Is to look at the goals that are already here.
And we'll start on, the pages have changed, never mind. Did I give everyone
Mike.
new versions of this? Oh, if I did.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
All right,
Changed
so
by one or so.
yeah, it starts on page
Is it section 9 then?
90, because I've added a page.
Page 90.
For the goals.
So do you want to start on them now? Do you want to look at them in a future meeting? What are you thinking?
Were we gonna like take, like, work in part of the town?
Well,
like,
yeah, I
All
guess,
back in Chuck area?
yeah, I
Chuck Hill area?
mean, you gave us these
I did.
tonight.
Yes.
Well, why don't we put the goals aside for a second? Do you want to, is this the mapping of, that we had talked about before?
It is. These were what the committee requested to get a close-up on some of the neighborhoods to group the parcels together. I'm hoping this is the imagery the committee had in mind.
That's what I had in mind.
I found the 3 largest clusters of open land and rec space and narrowed them down to areas that we've never called them before. One of them's called North Auburn. One one's called South Auburn. I don't think there's an actual thing. But the other one is just the Package Hill area. So what do you call this? Hatched?
Yeah.
No, it's crop. Yeah, it's a hatched area, right? Those are existing recreational uses, and the dark greens are the undeveloped open land.
And we displayed them in sort of natural groupings based on proximity one to another.
I could pull them up screen.
South Auburn is kind of like what they actually call West Auburn.
I just think it was, yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Well, West Auburn, I always thought was the West Street, Randall School area,
Yeah, it kind of is,
12
yeah.
and 20. So since this covered South Street, give it that, give it
Well, that's
that
the
name.
Millbury side of Auburn, but I mean, Prospect Street side is West Auburn.
Yeah, we used to always call it West Auburn.
So I pulled up the
I don't know.
Chug Hill one on the screen.
So what did you say, the hatched areas are already,
Already
They're already used as recreational land.
Yes. Sorry we didn't print it with Arial, because we would have used all the ink in the printer. But
well, you must have used, yeah.
Used a lot,
we used a lot anyways. But the area with the little pond and it's a golf course, and the other one is the Pappas Rec Complex.
Well, it's interesting, you know, John had a good point. Because, you know, we know where we have all these tracts of land, but it's interesting seeing them in color here, being
Yes.
contiguous to each other.
on paper, yeah.
Because I didn't think that they really were. I mean, there is some division, but still, it's closer than you'd think.
Looks a lot darker on. Right.
Yeah, the greens.
Yeah.
Right, yellow.
You probably printed and have more yellow put into it.
It's a,
Bluish green like,
right,
kind of.
and the yellow is low.
It's all right, it still differentiates the color. It's interesting how that side of town is the most densely populated.
Right.
And then, you know, the south or west, or well, the west side of Auburn has all the, you know, a good chunk of the commercial development.
Along 12 and 20.
Yeah.
West and central,
This is
yeah.
the area closest to Worcester, so it's the spillover from
Spillover.
Worcester.
Right.
What is this little piece here on Leicester Street? Do you know what that is?
I do. It's, I could point it out driving, but it's the wooded parcel along the pond.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Oh.
one above it, I think there's another large one near it that is owned by the water district, but
Oh.
that one just happens to be owned by us.
It's just a little wooded section.
Yep, that's
Nothing's
it.
happening there, just woods. Yeah, good. You need some nice animals living in there.
Well, we had talked at the last meeting about starting with the package house part for us for discussion, right?
Yes.
So, are there any quick observations?
This is very helpful, thank you for doing this, so it's easier.
Well, it kind of jumps out at you, you know, you
It
don't,
does, it's very helpful.
jumps out at me anyway, I don't know. you guys, but-
It's interesting to see how the golf course abuts the South Hole Road line.
Looks like a lot more than 12 feet, doesn't it?
It's about 600 feet.
Yeah, in theory, you could
Could you,
start at the bottom of Goddard Street and walk yourself all the way up the golf course
Good.
on town land.
So,
Pappas Rec site's bigger than golf course site. Right?
it does, yeah.
But it's a lot of that's still wooded land, so
Right.
that, it can be a little bit deceiving.
And there's some good slopes
yes, we didn't put elevation on here.
Right.
It's,
Going down towards
Route 20.
Route 20.
right, all feeds southeast.
Yeah.
And you got the diverse tunnel too that runs through the middle.
Yes.
So all the dark green is already town owned, right?
Yes.
The pink is,
It's the industrial district. We just got the zoning layers.
okay.
And the highway business zone.
So John, I think, were you thinking that we might want to look at, to see what privately owned parcels might be adjacent to what the town already owns? And were you thinking that maybe we should look at acquiring those, or what was your thoughts? What were your thoughts?
I think that what I was curious about, one of the issues that has been brought up is the lack of parking at the Pappas Recreation Complex. You know, on a typical Saturday morning when people might want to go for a walk and there's, you know, 3 Little League games or a softball game and soccer games, and the place is really pretty much packed. So I was looking at, especially with the acquisition of the Southold Meadows property, and we have that little connection between the Pappas complex and Southold Road. If there was a place where people could access and, you know, sort of a long-term plan to put some sort of a parking lot on the south side of the Pappas complex, you know, depending what the land configuration is like, just so that we can maybe open up that land, you know, and any sort of a parking up on, anything we did on South Old Road, at least in part, is going to involve dealing with some pretty deep, heavy slopes. And that to me generates a lot of cost. So if there were things to talk about as far as maybe going in on the flat and accessing the property, you know, or at least getting people closer where they might be inclined to use it, that would be nice. And they could, assuming that the trails are going to go through that little contact point, that's the 12-foot wide one, I think, then, you know, getting people somewhat close to that might encourage some use. And I don't know, looking at this, what, you know, as far as, you know, we have a link of green up to Goddard Drive, right on the bend of Goddard Drive. You know, is that something that could be a road in? Is it, I assume that anything we do under today's world has got to be asphalt and storm drainage and all that stuff.
That area is a overhead utility line.
Okay, so does that make it not usable, or?
No structures, but you could,
You could use it as an access point probably, right?
maybe,
You just can't build anything permanent on it because it's a right of way.
that's right. But that's
Keep talking about that right there.
the big question there is, there's a river that cuts off at a lower elevation. Right between, no, I got it on the map above us, but between the utility easement and the fields, you can kind of see how the elevation lines turn into V's right here.
Yeah.
That's where the river is, and it's probably about 50 to 60 feet down, just right here. It's a ravine, and then you finally get closer, and those fields are way up there. There are paths that get you there, and the issue being is all that terrain and then the certain stream that cuts it in half.
We do have those cornfields at the top
That's true.
relatively flat, but there's no way to get a car.
Unless it was at the end of the dead end street, but I don't know if
That's cutting out, isn't it?
Yeah.
that's right.
You know,
Yes.
Is that cutting, or?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I did have, well, when we had the trails surveyed, the consultant and I went out to the edge of this small parking lot that's at the beginning of the driveway. And we did some soil tests in this area, and ultimately almost what you can see here, this entire area is wetland soil.
Where?
It's just this kind of this whole area. So if you were to come with a road through here, you're in wetlands almost 90% of the way until you get to this little access, little farm road that continues at the end of cutting out. But this road is, I mean, that is an old farm road. It's still there. But in order to get access, that's walking only, I think.
Is there a gate there?
And there's a gate at the end of cutting out. But I think that's probably the one of, if not few options for extra parking. And everything on the inside is wetlands too.
Well, and Erica told us 3 or 4 meetings ago that it seems that the wetlands have grown since the original flagging, and I think that perhaps an ANRAD should be done and depict all the wetlands on that site, especially if you're looking at parking, to know what you're dealing with.
Certainly. But
And there's plenty of money in the, if the Conservation Commission was so inclined, there's plenty of money in the wetlands filing fee account to pay for a consultant to have that done. And to me, rather than doing it in pieces and whether not knowing where it's changed and not knowing what you can use and what you can't, to me, the first thing I would do is to have the wetlands delineated
they have to be
and have it surveyed and put on a plan.
for any development there.
Sure.
And if we were going to have that done, we want to do it at the time you're also considering any sort of expansion or
Right.
anything else for that facility, you don't
Right.
just do it
Rather
for a
than
parking lot.
speculating or guessing, that way you have it nailed down now. You know, the delineations are only valid for 3 years anyways.
That's right.
So, you know, given how the wetlands were scattered all over that site before, and most of those existing fields back right up to the wetland delineations that were done before they were built, to me, I think it would be useful and probably the first thing you should do to get a handle on what you're doing with it. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
You
Next
know,
question is where would the money come from to build a parking lot? Who would do it?
Try for grants, I would imagine.
right. And, you know, it's-
Expansion of recreational use. It's
And I-
possible if we have our plan approved.
right. You could apply under some kind of a grant. You know how you were saying that we can apply for grants once the recreation plan,
Exactly.
I mean, the open space plan is approved. There might be something out there that we right now
Yeah, I
can
was
apply
thinking
for.
that.
And you know, too, I don't know, like how, I know that DPW is doing a lot more work than they used to do as far as drainage and road work, and I don't know if, you know, I know that this would probably need a special design because of the, you know, the high groundwater. So I don't know whether that might be something that they could assist with too, I don't know. Or at least the town engineer and the assistant town engineer might be able to help with some of the design work, you know? I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves probably, but I would imagine they'd try to utilize the talent on the staff to the extent that they could, you know? And I think you'd have to have some kind of an analysis, I would think, done by someone that understands the correlation of people to parking spaces to figure out how many parking spaces do you need. I mean, there's
You
no
want to do it in one shot,
Right,
you know, build a lot and then have to,
right.
Add on to it.
But you don't want to add 400 parking spaces
And
and
never
then find
use
out
them.
only 100 are used.
yeah.
You know,
On the other hand, you may want to add 400 parking spaces if you're expecting a few years down the road to build more fields. So
I don't know where
There's
you
so
put
much more
400
left.
parking spaces, you know?
there's so much more to do.
Matt, the parcel lower center there, that I think is active farmland, or is that leased to somebody, or?
Yes.
Okay. How do they get in there what's their vehicle access?
Right off the, well, I think it's one of these families. I could be wrong, but I think it's still the original owners
It is.
that access it. I think they only give us like $500 a year, something like that. It's not a lot, but I'm pretty sure they own property that abuts it.
Okay, so, but you could, in theory, have the end of Cutting Ave, where there's a gate, you could possibly use that as access. I mean, I don't know what the impact, I know that's not a wide, big street, but,
Right. That might be the only option.
what's that?
It might be one of few options.
Yeah. Another potential, and it wouldn't be, I don't think it would have a huge impact, is that residential lot at the top of the street.
I'll make that parking.
But I don't think it's gonna.
this?
Yeah.
That's steep land, it's quite a drop off.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's wet in there too.
Yeah, right in the front. You actually own a little bit behind it, which is surprising. You own almost up to 10 feet of the building, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah. At 199 back chugs. Also right there. There's a lot of flat surface right there too.
Can you use the church parking lot there?
I was just wondering that actually.
There's an agreement with the church, sure, but
Yeah.
it's really up to
If-
them.
Right, if there's a function going on at the church, then you
Yeah.
can't. but
It's
I guess if
typically
it's open,
weekends.
yeah.
Do you ever see people parking there?
Yeah, people do, but there's, with the Packagug Music School there and the Montessori School
Yeah.
and, you know, other activities at their church, it's a pretty busy place on it, you know, in and of itself. I know they've been very nice during big events of letting people park there, but they have at the other time, they've, you know, put a sawhorse in the road and said no
Oh,
parking.
okay.
At least
Yeah.
that's my understanding, because there are times when they are certainly entitled to use their property
They have
first.
their own functions
Of
going on.
course.
Yeah, and the little parking lot that you were just referring to, Matt, I'm gonna have to go up there on a Saturday to see if anybody actually parks there. Because, you know, you'd have to walk 50 feet to get into the site, and that's apparently against human nature.
And that would be the issue with the overflow down on the field. And you're looking at, what, a quarter-mile walk or something?
Well, I'm not thinking so much for the existing fields, but I'm thinking like, if we develop walking trails or some other use in the Southold Road area, you got to get people in there. And they got to be, you know, it was suggested that they walk from the main parking at Pappas all the way down to that little 12-foot span. And that's a hike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's fine. If you're out there to hike, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it may not be appropriate if we're trying to bring people into, you know, recreation space for other reasons.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
long
the
ways to go
the
back too, to
slopes-
go to
The
use
slopes going down are pretty steep.
I had proposed that as one of the entrances for the trail since there's parking for it. And it really all depends on what we can do within the wetland for foot traffic without any stone or anything, and that's gonna depend on what conservation thinks.
Mm. I mean, there are like boardwalks. If you go to any Audubon site, there are boardwalks through wetlands
Yeah.
all the time. And,
Right.
so I think it's something that, at least in my mind, could be done. And it obviously has to meet the regulations, but, and that might be a fairly good area to go in there from, because like I said, human nature just says that people aren't gonna park there.
You're right. One of the features that's in there, so I think this area was cleared during construction and it was used for erosion control. It has some check dams and some
Yeah.
high raised berms in that area. So there's a natural feature here where there's a raised berm, it's just a little hill, where you could propose the trail on that, but it's not the
Yeah, it had
most.
some serious erosion problems during
That's right.
construction.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Was that anticipated, or no?
To answer your question a little bit, I walk through there quite a bit, and there are cars in that little parking lot occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 cars. Some people do use it. But people go in there to walk or run or whatever, they'll park in there. Now, whether the parents that come with their children for soccer and what have you, they probably don't park in there because they've got all this equipment to handle, but
No, and the last time I was in there on a Saturday, I was really surprised because there were actually people parking on the access road. And the lots were full, the lower lots were full by the soccer field. So people were just parking the road. No one was driving up to the softball field, that's where there's plenty of parking.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, like I said, this is just human nature.
Human nature. Mhm.
And it's something that you have to sort of design around.
Well, they shouldn't be parking on the access road, they should have gone to those lots,
Yes.
You were correct.
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
Someone should be enforcing that. But, it's not good.
I was in Chase when people are so afraid to walk a few feet, but yet they'll go pay all kinds of money to go exercise at the gym.
Yeah. Well, so, what are your thoughts about, I mean, what exactly do we want to do with this now?
I'm gonna digest it.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, we've got a lot of information here. There's some key things that aren't visible here that require probably a site visit from my head, just to understand what this really looks like on the ground. But I think at least we can get an idea of what the proximities are.
Yeah, and I'd like to, I'm trying to visualize how much of the Pappas site, how much of the acreage that's left that's not developed. I'm trying to figure out where it's at. Because it's less than a third of what there was is undeveloped.
Was it over 100 before they started?
They had 80 acres to start out with.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's something like this, yeah. That's all. That's about all that's been used.
Yeah, it's about 30-something acres it's been used. 33 and 35, something like that. So, almost half, I was wrong. And do you know, where is John's proposed parking area? Where is he thinking?
That would be off of Cutting House, it would be one of these areas.
Okay, it's on the back side.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, even, another area would be if there's a way to access the south end of this, but it would probably involve a long road, which is probably cost prohibitive, but, somewhere else in there that puts people closer to South Old Meadow.
I see what you're saying.
Part of that proposed trail goes along the existing sewer easement, which you can kind of see on here. At least on the screen, comes off of Goddard Drive and there's a footpath. It comes in here. You kind of see that gray beaten path. It eventually comes up here, comes all the way around this contour, the back of the cornfield, then comes up here, goes across the top of the diversion channel, and then into the South Old Road line. It just kind of goes down the side. So that's part of the trail we're proposing, so that would connect with an existing trail somewhere in here before it catches that 12-foot wide section, and then eventually comes back up to the back of the soccer field. It's not exactly the best access off Goddard Drive because two houses and a sewer easement
Yeah.
in between is not like you can park on the street.
The dirt,
So,
crushed stone lot there would be helpful.
but that's I guess a jogger's path or something. Relatively stable elevation on that.
Isn't there a reason for
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
Is there a reason for electrical coming too? High tension?
That's further
farther-
south.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
But it doesn't get you closer to South Holt Road. It's, the opposite end of the Grace Cutting property.
Well, so maybe we should take this kind of under advisement and spend some time studying it a little bit. And then as far as the goals go, we can start taking a look. Matt said he would call them out and make a separate list of goals.
I'll just trim it down because there's a lot of language in the plan. I'll just put them 1 through 7 on a sheet so we can just go over.
Yeah. Maybe you could get that out ahead of time and we could just plan on, just working on it. Maybe we could discuss the package log plan a little bit and just discuss the goals a little bit. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
Yes.
And then another time we'll take another section of town. Alright. Do you feel that you need any information from any other group at this point about a size on a parking area, or do you think we should just,
I think we can I think we should look at generalities now, and then long before we get to specifics, we have to think about the realities of what can happen. But, I think that the priority here is to get this plan approved, and then we open up the door to things like grants, and maybe we can get somebody to help us out.
right, well, I'll be glad when, once the open space plan is, and it sounds like we're real close to getting that thing approved, and then we can look at other grants, but still, and it sounds like from what you're saying that we're gonna get some help for the master plan, which I'm very glad to hear, because that is a huge undertaking for lay people, volunteers, with no professional assistance, outside of yourselves, which have got such only thing on the plate. All right, so we'll do that. So we'll kind of try to drill down on this, get some more thought process. then Matt's gonna make us kind of like a bullet list of goals so that we can kind of take a look at those.
Are we going to be doing with properties for auction consideration, or is that?
Yeah, now is that the property that they've got on the agenda tonight?
I
The
have-
auction?
I have a few for our consideration. I think Eric has
I
to
have
get
to
going.
excuse myself. I have another appointment.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
See y'all soon.
Okay,
Last meeting, I had a table that I distributed.
yes.
The town was considering choosing some parcels for auction, one of them being the 6 Meadow Street that everyone knows about. It's an existing house that was taken by the town, and they're looking to put it up for auction. That's probably the one on the selecting agenda.
Well, there's something about Meadow Street, but it's a parcel, a triangular parcel.
Exactly. So I can go over that. So what it is. This is number 6, and then there's this little triangle behind it, which is owned by the town. So they're trying to decide if they want to package these together, or if they want to offer it to these 3 neighbors that abut it.
Oh, okay.
And I think they're soliciting public feedback on that tonight, or I don't know if it's just for the selectmen to decide, but I believe it might be in the committee's interest to make a recommendation on it, one way or the other.
You know, I'm trying to remember the agenda item, because I looked at the selectmen's agenda, and I thought it was a vote on a decision about whether to auction it.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but,
I think they formally just need that from the board of selectmen, and how they package it is really up to the town, because it's less than a certain amount. Doesn't need to. So, I guess what I'm wondering if the committee believes it'd be their recommendation to combine it with number 6, or
much-
approach the 3 neighbors.
How much land is it?
Oh, it's tiny.
it's not much.
Yeah.
Why would,
it's
to
small.
me, why don't we stick it with, I would combine it with number 6.
Yeah, one parcel.
I mean, what do you, I mean,
It's 8/100 of an acre.
800, 700?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it actually would fit very nice in with that property at number 5 Water Street. But,
Fit 4. I mean, it would fit either of those 2. Yeah, it's about 3,500 square feet total. But that's just one example. That one's really not so much a button for the committee, since it's an existing house.
Mm-hmm.
But that little parcel, if the committee doesn't want to take any position on it, that could be it too, and then the town can decide the best way to proceed. It's,
Well, I mean, we haven't really done anything on the tiny parcels, but I mean,
right,
if you've got 6 up anyways, I don't know, to me, I would put it together with it.
yeah, I mean, it could be just a recommendation to the committee that we see no recreational use for this land, and,
For 3,500 square feet?
Right.
It's too small.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Not sure what-
recommended sold at auction in the best interest
Of the
manner
town.
of the town's decision or something
Yeah.
like that.
Is there a motion to that effect, for that to be the recommendation? Or do you guys have other thoughts?
the only thing I would think is that if it could be offered to any of the 4 abutters, you know, up as a bid, as an auction.
Right,
I mean,
we're not really
it's-
saying which abutter to go
Right,
to, just
right.
say that it doesn't really have any value to keep it as open space at 3,500 acres.
Could you give the buzz a first offer, first option for it maybe?
I think what the town's trying to do is find out which one's gonna bring in the most money, whether it's by combining the 2 to sell it for that premium, or if you can get more by offering it to the neighbors and they have a bidding war. I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but I think they're trying to maximize profit, and that's their intention.
And I think, all we're really looking at is, do we think that that 3,500 square foot triangle should be kept or not?
I mean, you might lose the opportunity altogether if you sell 6 without it, and then all of a sudden the neighbors don't want the little triangle.
Right, then you got a little triangle just sitting there.
So there's the.
To me, it's like, it's such a small triangle, I don't know if the neighbors would want to bother, but, and especially if they're gonna get into a bidding war. I would just stick it with 6 and be done with it.
That makes sense too.
So it's almost, I believe it sounds like a motion to determine there's no conservation or recreational use, and that the town administration, in the best interest, to make a decision on how to sell the property. Something like that.
I would make a motion that we determine that there is no recreational advantage to holding onto that small parcel, and that the town be allowed to do what they think is best to dispose of it.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Put them all together to that effect to the town. Couple more.
Okay.
20 Elmer Street. We talked about this briefly last meeting, because it's the only one that we own.
20 Elmwood?
20 Elmwood. It's the only one that we own. There's nothing on it that's commercially zoned. So. This is in Mark's neighborhood.
Yes. It's a narrow, a big drop on the Southbridge side.
That's right. So this is coming from Worcester, where Elmwood Street hits Route 12. There's a thin strip of, oddly enough, 1.00 acres of land that is commercially zoned. Unsure if you could put any sort of structure on it or not, given its dimensional requirements in an highway business zone. One of the things needs 40 feet of front setback anyways. You might not even have that. I think it's, you might only be able to put a small building on this thing. But regardless, it is commercially zoned and may have some decent value to it. The other discussion that came out of the master plan committee was they were going over the gateway district's proposal from 2006 and thought that if you're going to put a gateway sign, welcome to Auburn, that's where you're going to put it.
Oh,
So
Is there a sewer easement there, like at Elmwood?
I do not know.
Okay.
I can find out.
I thought they did something, they went to Southbridge Street, did something there.
So are they thinking about auctioning that parcel off?
It's being considered only because I brought it up, but it's not formally on their radar yet. That's why I brought it to the committee first.
I think just leave open space, but
It's taken by tax title.
I'm not sure it's even worth the town incurring the cost to put it to auction. I just don't see anybody buying that. I see no,
it's narrow and a big drop. There's a hill on Elmwood side too.
It'd be a good place for a sign though, like they said.
it would, and that, you're correct with that. That would be a perfect location.
So land assessed here is 15,000.
Well, it'd be a really nice sign. But it's not, like you said, it's not, you could put a building. I mean, a commercial venture would be more than that.
The parcel requirement in HB, I think, is 20,000 square feet, which is a third of that. Oh, well, sorry, half of that. It's possible that the town could still split off half of it, use a sign in the front and sell off the other half to a business.
I was gonna say, they don't need that whole
Right.
long
No.
It all
piece just
depends
for a
on terrain.
sign.
Is someone gonna dig a giant hole, put up a giant wall, just put a business there and have it only be a 3,000 square foot building?
Which I think you need parking too.
Right, so that's why I brought it up, only because is it worth exploring to see if it's even feasible? Because the auction person would do that sort of research to see how marketable it is and find out you get no bids, because that's not even possible. You can set a reserve on it anyways. So, I figured that research was available through the auction process, but if not,
Well, if
Well,
somebody is willing to do that, that's fine, as long as it doesn't cost the town money, you know. Does that abut the property where they're tearing that building
it
down?
does.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That might be someone interested in buying it. It's possible. That's the bank.
I mean, I guess you could look at getting rid of it, but I mean, if you're gonna put a sign there, then you have to give that away.
Did you say that abuts the Central Line Credit Union
It abuts the,
property?
there's a,
Property next to it.
right, there's a, well, they bought
They
all
bought-
of that. Central Run has an expansion project to build
Yeah.
a little drive-through at the ATM, and then they bought
Yeah.
the rest of this.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're expanding.
Yeah. They still own that number 30, which is a house,
Yeah.
but they own right up to the town property now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so they're not, so they won't be interested to go any further
No, I don't
on
think
that
so.
piece.
So I'm gonna put in a fountain and,
Little park?
yeah,
Oh,
bird bath.
It's almost wide enough to put a swing set in.
So,
I don't know. What do you guys want to do?
I don't know. What you can do with that.
Well, you know, if you have somebody do research on it, like the auctioneer, aren't they gonna charge to do that work?
since the auction's happening already for Meadow Street, by packaging them together, you can use some of that
Oh, well,
collectively.
okay.
So that's why we're considering adding more to the.
Oh, I see,
more,
okay.
Well, then, yeah.
Well, then
I
get
would-
the
I would say
information.
Go ahead, get that information, Jim.
Do you all agree?
I agree.
Yeah. There's another client of, I don't know whether the telephone company has some stuff, equipment there? Or someone? Some
Oh,
electrical
like-
stuff?
Yeah, the telephone poles and stuff,
No, this is, these are like big boxes.
Yeah.
right in the corner. That might-
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
right
those
in that
big
area.
green
I think it's within the right of
metal
way,
boxes,
probably.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so if you can, yeah, if you're gonna be doing a bunch, then can we find out the feasibility of selling it or not? And then decide if how much do you need for a sign? The spot.
He might look at it and say, not happening. And then just give it back to us anyway, so
Right.
Yeah, but this is an opportunity then to find out. Let's get somebody that knows the business and
You might as well maximize your opportunity. Right?
What information we can get.
some motion there.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Can you make a motion this
I mean, we
time?
kind of agreed, but is there a motion to have that parcel included in the review by the auctioneer to determine its marketability?
so moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I better do these minutes right away. I'm never gonna remember what I wrote.
I have one more. We have discussed it many times. It is 423 South Street and 3 Old Millbury Street.
Oh, that's the one with the,
Combined.
yes.
Yes. I think this might be a short discussion, but.
Yep.
Well,
I think we already kind of agreed that, yeah, because they back up to each other.
they do.
The point of the two streets isn't part of it, but their back property lines are together, so why not combine it and make it one and sell it? Is that right? Isn't that what we talked about?
How much land is there?
There
What?
is, let's see, it requires 60,000 square feet, and there's like 1.91 acres or something like that, so it's more than enough. When they're combined by themselves.
Right, by themselves, they're not, it's not a buildable lot.
So what happened on Friday was...
It's,
Where is it now?
423 South Street. So combined with this Old Millbury Street, Old Millbury Road, excuse
Old
me.
Millbury Road, yeah.
Combined, they make a buildable lot. So Bill Coyle and Glenn Kravowski, who's a EVT Environmental Wetlands Consultant, went to the site on Friday to do just a preliminary assessment of it. Glenn believes, just verbally anyways, that the lot should be buildable, but is going to request through the town the paid services to flag it probably next week or so. In the meantime, it would, just to find out if it's even buildable or not, but looking at like $1,000 expense or so to have it flagged, but this is, overall, should be a buildable lot. But it's worth exploring once, if and when the survey comes back positive
Yeah.
where you could put a structure on the lot. If it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. That's it.
So that could be two house lots, right?
No, one house
One
lot.
big house lot?
Right, because to separate, they're not
No,
big
but could
enough.
you put two houses, no,
No, one house lot,
okay.
Only
one house.
Combine the lots. and
You either have 3 Millbury Road address, or you have
Yeah, okay.
420 something Archdale Street would be your address.
Is there enough frontage on there?
Yes.
So what do you want to do?
Frontage is on Old Millbury.
So I guess you'll have 3 Old Millbury Road as your address.
I guess what town administration is looking for is a motion to recommend both parcels be combined
Yep.
and presented to the auctioneer for sale for residential single-family home.
So moved.
Is that a motion, Alex?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does the planning board have to approve the joining of those two parcels to make it a lot?
It may do that through the A&R process, but only depending on how the wetland survey comes back. If it comes back negative, then it's well. So, the auctioneer didn't want us to do that yet for anything until they can look into advertising it properly. If he feels that doing an A&R makes it more profitable to have that done, assuming that it's surveyed and it's buildable, they'll ask us to do that.
So it would become one lot for all posterity. It would no longer be two.
That's right.
I didn't know if you could just arbitrarily make that change or if it had to be,
It has to be.
that's what I was kind of figuring out.
Is that part of the old farm area?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so what else?
Did we vote on that?
Yes, you did.
We did
Okay, I'm sorry.
ask if there were any oppositions.
Oh, okay.
Were you in favor or not?
I'm fine with it. I must have been watching the monitor.
You're probably trying to listen to the meeting across the hall, which you probably would be covering, but, yeah, I don't know. Are we gonna do
I
that?
don't think we're,
I've decided to keep that on our agenda.
We'll just keep it as a
I don't
placeholder?
think we're prepared to.
It was part of the committee objective with
Right.
Julie's goals for the year.
Well, we've
so-
got, yeah, we've got enough on our plate now with what we've decided to do, I think.
That's right, I think now that you have the Pack Chuck Hill thing, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
No public comment, I don't think.
No, we don't have any public, so we have no public comment. So the next meeting, do you want to meet again the first Monday of June?
June already.
That would be what, the
Yes.
6th, I think? I think it's June 6th.
Mm-hmm. June 6th.
Do you think you'll be ready, Matt, at that point, or with some?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping the open space plan updates are done and submitted. Well, not submitted, I gotta wait for the committee, but I think I should have this.
Okay.
All right, so June 6th, we're going to go back to 6:30?
It's fine.
Yeah, either time.
I was really liking the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 is nice too.
Majority rules, what do you want to do? Well, no, I won't say that because I won't say majority rules, but I mean, I don't care. I don't care.
You seem to prefer 6:30 though.
I do. I prefer 7 o'clock, frankly, but, you know, I'm trying to be considerate. I'm trying not to be too rigid here.
You know what? It might actually work because it's possible the Board of Health has a meeting. So it's
Don't
what
they meet usually on the same night as the selectmen?
they've
Yeah.
been all over the place.
No, I think
Yeah,
they're back to their regular schedule now,
Right.
the 2nd and 4th.
Okay.
Right, so that would be the first Monday if we go back, because we've been meeting on the selectmen's, because it's just the way the calendar has fallen, and
Right.
we've had other things come up, but last week we had town meeting on Tuesday, which is why
Yeah,
we met tonight instead.
Mhm.
But if we go to June 6th, then we'll be back on the first
We might be okay.
Monday,
Right.
and we wouldn't be on a selectmen's meeting night, and if the Board of Health is the 2nd
Mhm.
and 4th,
Yeah.
then we won't conflict with them either, right? So if you guys, I mean, I'll acquiesce to 6 if you want, I don't care.
6?
Yes, no?
yes, I'd go 6.
All right, so June 6th at 6.
6:30.
6. It's hard to forget. 6, 16, that's it.
Oh, yeah. 6, 16.
I think that one's in there.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
You'll be a year older the next time we see. Okay, the minutes. From the last meeting.
I had the opportunity to read it. I made a couple of small things, like this where it said planner, I put Mr. Benoit, and where town manager, I capitalized, but that was it. Other than that, it was really good.
Sometimes I try not to repeat myself all the time by saying Mr. So-and-so, and
Yeah.
so I might say planner. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's a matter of semantics, but...
Yeah, it didn't matter. That's all I did.
And technically, when you use the town, well, I mean, I capitalized town manager in one spot, I didn't.
It didn't matter. Since we didn't use her name, I just used it in capitals. Just used it.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Okay, what do you want cheap for free help? I was gonna say cheap help, but free help. Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seven 22, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you very much, everyone.